As odd as this may sound, I feel like we're becoming friends. I'm going to meet you someday. I'll be speaking at a conference or on a college campus, and you'll recognize me and come up and introduce yourself and say, I watched the Iceberg lectures. If that happens, let's have a cup of coffee, and I'll buy. You know, the iceberg metaphor is true for me just like it's true for you. I share from my writer's notebook in workshop, but not before I've cleaned it up and gotten it above the waterline so it's ready for my workshops. I thought maybe it would be helpful if we went to the construction site before I've taken the scaffolding down, before I've put in the sod and painted the house and put a for sale sign in the yard. Let's go there and see what happens in the process.
We've been here before, haven't we? You've watched me snarl and grumble in pre-writing and writing. Now let's do a little bit of that in revising. Tom Romano wrote, finished writing is produced by a process. Donald Murray talks about removing scaffolding and getting rid of the building materials, but not yet. You need to stay on the construction site and see it happen. When I'm revising, I really go all the way back to the beginning. I pull those free writes and I grab my red pen and I instinctively underline things that I think I'm going to need. And as the writing process unfolds, I go through my pre-writing, my exploration drafts. You see, I harvest a lot there. And then I make a plan. And the plan is written out in my writer's notebook, but eventually I have to harvest that into my computer. So I type the plan in by implementing those first sentence here and pulling that dialogue and bringing that detail. That leads me to draft 2. When I get into draft 2, I have a lot more paragraph going on than I did in draft 1, and I'm already starting to revise with a pretty sharp pen. That then has to be typed in, and that becomes draft 3. When I get into draft 3, you notice there's less writing there. I have skinnied it down, I've eliminated some of my clutter, and I'm adding some details in. But I also make notes to myself like this one. At the end of draft 3, I type next step. Find the kernel for the cumulative sentence in the tangle of the first draft. I had to remind myself of what the actual formula was. The kernel, the adverb, the free modifiers, the possessive pronoun phrase, and the backtrack. Yes, I actually pulled the formula up, and then I started looking for what of my words might work to create that formula. There I have it. By the time I get to this draft, you see it there in the look happy paragraph. It's the second sentence. And you notice the photo discreetly recorded. Well, discreetly is that adverb. And I put it in on purpose because the formula told me to. But as I read the draft out loud, it read with a bumpy cadence to it. I didn't like discreetly. And I realized I only put the adverb in because the formula told me to. So I took it out. It doesn't survive by the next draft. Do you notice what happens by draft 5? I grab my green pen and I count how many words in every sentence and I label them. I want to make sure I have sentence variety. You'll notice the fourth sentence in my piece listed down at the bottom is 44 words. That's a cumulative sentence according to formula. 2 sentences later, a 32-word cumulative sentence. Notice the glue that holds those together. A combination of medium-length sentences and short ones on purpose. That leads to draft 6. By draft 6, I'm checking to make sure I've done what I know to do. In pencil, you'll see me drawing lines connecting those bookends. In highlighter, you see me marking my alliteration. I want to make sure I don't have too much concentration of alliteration, that I give the reader a little bit of a break, and then layer it on thick at the end. And that is draft 6. That's where I am at this point.
There you have it. The writing process happening before your very eyes in the revision stage. So now if I do run into you sometime in the future, we'll have that cup of coffee and we'll have something to talk about. Just make sure you bring your writer's notebook with you. Until next time, Godspeed.